that?
Sure. Yeah.
You didn't record it. Okay, we're gonna start the meeting with introductions, and I'm introducing my Carlo and here, and I've been chairman in the past, and I'm excited to be here and looking forward to a good 2023.
Cosetta McMillan, I am a concerned citizen from the north side of Kingstown.
I'm Kevin Kern. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the Western Reserve Board Authority.
I'm Jim Kinnick. I'm the Executive Director here at Eastgate. And I'm happy to be here addressing the group and hearing your concerns. And before I get started, pass it over to Justin, I just want to thank everybody that participates in our citizens board. It's very important that we get input from our citizens. I can tell you, I travel around the country, different conferences, many of us do. And one of the initiatives that we have here with the Citizens Advisory Board is not shared across the country, but until they hear our story and how valuable we find it, it's now being practiced in cities across the United States. So I really feel like we were the first on this initiative, and pleased with the results and the input we received.
And I'm Justin Mondock, the Director of Planning and Development here at Eastgate. I act as kind of the staff facilitator for the Citizens Advisory Board. So it's the agenda, send out all of the meeting information, and work this year with Ray DiCarlo to help you all conduct good business and most importantly, provide feedback to not only us as the staff of Eastgate, but also the General Policy Board of Eastgate. So in a few minutes, I'll kind of explain a little bit more about what that means is kind of an introduction into the Citizens Advisory Board, just to start everyone fresh with the basics information for CAB. But I guess to kind of structure our introductions, we'll kind of jump around for the people that are called into the meeting. So first on my list, Pete Milliken, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I've been on this advisory board since 2018. I retired from the Vindicator in 2017, where I'd been a reporter for 36 years. Spent the last 11 years covering the courthouse and Mahoning County government. I developed a lot of broad institutional knowledge of the Mahoning Valley during my time at the Vindicator and since then. And I would like to, along with others, share my ideas and observations for the future of the Mahoning Valley based on my knowledge. And I'm sure everybody else here has also a great deal of institutional knowledge from all of their time living in the Mahoning Valley that they can share on this committee.
Thanks, Pete. Phil, I see you up next.
Yeah, I'm Phil Pegg, Vienna Township trustee. I'm also on the Trumbull County Planning Commission and the Trumbull County Council of Governments. And I take the information, I am not on the CAB, but I take the information and share it with the other townships at our townships meetings.
Fantastic. Thank you, Phil. Genevieve?
Yes, good evening. Yeah, I'm Genevieve Germanic. I think I've been a member since like 2010, 2011. I initially started as a League of Women Voters observer, but I was so interested in the goings on of Eastgate Council of Governments that I wanted to learn more. And I'm a transplant from out of this area. So it was a great opportunity to learn, and I continue to. And, you know, I want to share whatever observations I can, and I just appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Genevieve. Harvey?
Hello, it's Michael Harvey, and I'm just an ordinary citizen that dreams of a better world and wants to do anything and everything he can to make that happen.
Jacob, up next.
Hi, everybody. Jacob Harvey here. Greetings from the Savannah River, Savannah, Georgia. Um, I'm also an ordinary citizen, downtown business owner, and Kent PhD student. And my main interest is seeing that the Mahoning River Greenway gets completed to connect the Stavish Bike Trail to Ravenna. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jacob. Jane Walsh. I think you're muted, Jane.
I'm now unmuted and you can see me. I'm Jane Walsh. I'm a resident of Poland Township. I just have a general interest in regional planning, primarily because I am a lawyer who concentrates on commercial real estate development. So this is always an interesting meeting. I've been on the CAB since last year. Always an interesting to see what's in the works in terms of regional planning and just in general. As a citizen and as someone who has more than just a general interest in development of real estate, that this is interesting on a regional basis.
Excellent. Thank you, Jane. I think you'll find one of Jim's upcoming initiatives that he'll talk about pretty interesting for this upcoming year. John Jameson.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Jameson. I am the superintendent of the water purification plant in Meander Water. My background is environmental water treatment infrastructure, and I'm just here to lend my ideas and thoughts on Youngstown and the Mahoning Valley, and hopefully help have a brighter future for everybody.
Excellent. Thanks, John. And that wraps up all of our introductions.
EAB kickoff.
Yeah. So like I had said a few moments ago, I wanted to take a couple minutes just to provide the basics of the Citizens Advisory Board, recognizing that some people may be new. Maybe we didn't cover this as well as we could have in past years, but really just to set the foundation of what Eastgate is, how we function, and what role the Citizens Advisory Board plays. So to take it from the very top, Eastgate as an organization, it's in our name. We're a regional council of governments, which means all of the local communities are members of our agency. So that's counties, cities, villages. We also work with and partner with our townships, as well as other regional organizations like the Regional Chamber and the Western Reserve Port Authority, all across Mahoning, Trumbull, and Ashtabula counties. That is at our most general basic who we are and what we do. When we look at our individual functions, we have other designations. So it could be that we are an area-wide water quality management district. We're a metropolitan planning organization, which is our transportation side. We're an economic development district through the US EDA, an Appalachian Regional Commission local development district. We are the District 6 Ohio Public Works Commission agency. So we cover a whole lot of ground. We perform a lot of different functions for a variety of different agencies. And that's kind of where our structure comes in. So Eastgate itself is really the general policy board. And we have on our website a listing of who our general policy board members are. Those are the folks that have voting power to make decisions for Eastgate. They're the ones that set our work plans. They authorize everything we do. At the heart of Eastgate, that's who that is. And most commonly on there, you'll see commissioners, you'll see mayors of cities. You may see some technical folks make it into the mix. But just as setting the foundation, that is who Eastgate is. The staff is who actually does the work that the general policy board sets out. So, the 15 or 16 of us that are spread around the office, and you may have gotten to know through presentations at these meetings, or if you've come to other meetings or open houses that we've had, that's how the work gets done, is as kind of directives from the General Policy Board, the staff facilitates those. Underneath the General Policy Board, we have an advisory system. So on one side, we have a technical advisory committee, which is made up of engineers and planners and other administrative folks from all of the local communities. They're the ones that get to review the work that we as the staff do and provide comments on it, really technical tweaks, letting us know if we're doing a good enough job at what the General Policy Board has told us to do. And in the exact same side of that is the Citizens Advisory Board, advisory to the General Policy Board. So much in the same way that we take information to the Technical Advisory Committee, we bring it to the Citizens Advisory Board for you to all look at. You have the real world experience, the lived experience of being in the Valley. So you have a better set of eyes for specific issues, specific problems, and some ideas for solutions that maybe we as the staff don't necessarily have that knowledge of, or that background, or that perspective. So it's incredibly important to bring this information to this body, to have you look at it, you tell us how we can do things better. Both the Technical Advisory Committee and the Citizens Advisory Board have the same voice at the General Policy Board. In fact, the Citizens Advisory Board has 2 voting members on the General Policy Board itself. So we've elected those at the November meeting. Samantha Yanucci is our representative for Mahoning County, and Genevieve is our representative for Trumbull County. So that's a lot of information, but I think it sets a good foundation of describing why this is important and kind of what the central function is. So when we put these agendas together for these meetings, you'll notice the resolution section of the agenda. That I think is the most important aspect of kind of what we ask you to do. Take a look at those resolutions, make sure they make sense, make sure that we are doing things as we're tasked to do them in a transparent and open manner, and then provide your voice. The members of the CAB get to vote on the recommendation that they will make to the General Policy Board regarding action for those resolutions. So that can be a little confusing. So I'll kind of go through that just slowly one more time. So we bring a resolution to the Citizens Advisory Board and the Technical Advisory Committee. Whatever decision the board members of those committees make goes to the General Policy Board to weigh when they make their final decision on those. And those are the functions and the actions of our agency. That's policy for how we operate. So give everyone a minute to chew on that. Does anybody have any questions, any thoughts? A lot of that can be a little jargon heavy. If I said some words that you're unfamiliar with, happy to break those down and clarify. But if anybody has any questions.
An observation, if I may, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
It's Pete Milliken. Just an observation that I think it's important that in order to have the fullest impact, that the Citizen Advisory Board get in on the ground floor on proposed projects. A lot of times it seems, we're learning about things after the fact or after they're fairly far along, and maybe it's even too late to effectively comment on the projects. So I'm just hoping that we can get in on the ground floor, excuse me, where we would have the most influence and our suggestions would have the most impact.
Absolutely, and great comment, Pete. I think there is one important distinction to make when it comes to projects. So Eastgate as an agency will undertake certain projects ourselves. There are certain things that we can push forward and advance. And I think we try and do our best at bringing this group right at the very start of that process. So when something's starting out, when a process is starting out in-house, we'd like to have that person here for a presentation to open the door right from the beginning. There's even some of our programs that we have CAB direct representation on our scoring committees and things like that. The flip side to that coin is there are projects that come through our agency, meaning that we find a way to get funding for projects. And what that looks like is those projects are really driven by the local community. So they would be doing a lot of the beginning work to prepare everything that needs to come together to make that project happen. Oftentimes, a lot of that happens without even us knowing about it. There is kind of like two sides to the project's idea. Things that we control in-house, we absolutely unequivocally want the CAB to be there from the very beginning. A lot of those projects that come from outside of our agency that the local communities are really pushing forward and advancing is a little bit out of our control to bring things in earlier, because oftentimes we just don't know that they're occurring. But excellent comment, Pete, and it's certainly a priority of mine to make sure that as soon as we know about something, we bring it to you, bring you into the fold.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to our presentation is a 2022 agency summary and a 2023 outlook from the Executive Director of Eastgate, James Kinnick.
Thank you, Ray, and well said, Justin, on explaining the agency. And there's a lot going on at Eastgate, and Justin mentioned a lot of programs we manage. I like to say we have 16 different programs. We have 16 people managing a program apiece. They're all going different directions, but the beauty of the staff that we have is that we all pitch in and try to help whatever's the hot project right now, assist where we can. In many of these projects, what we try to do is get out of silos where one person's managing ARC projects. No, we have a team, but one person that kind of oversees it, but we have a team approach to everything we do. It helps to be even more successful than we have been in the past as we move and look to go further in the future. I echo Justin's comments, Pete. It was a great observation. Great. We will do everything we can, and we try to get projects in front of our TAC and our CAB as soon as we hear about them, as soon as we get involvement, but many of them are driven by locals. I'm actually going to try to kind of pick off some of our bigger accomplishments in 2022. And as Justin was answering, I was looking at the majority of those projects started somewhere else, but we were able to facilitate and help in some way. But the project sponsors is usually the Department of Transportation or that local community, or one of the county engineers where those projects came from. But this office, with the staff, the talented staff we have and dedicated staff, looks to assist. And what we try to say on all of our projects is we're here to help. If you have a problem, let us know. We try to find a solution. So with that, what I want to do, I want to kind of highlight a handful of the projects that we helped assist our communities push through the system. And I'm going to focus on the bigger projects. And what I prefaced this, and I gave this a very similar talk to our Finance Executive Committee. I will do it at our General Policy Board when it comes up in March, first week of March. These are really, a lot of these projects are in addition to the day-to-day work that our staff does in driving home the programs that we're responsible for according to our work plan, according to Columbus and some of our federal programs. So we've really taken what we do here at Eastgate and expanded our reach into our communities. Really a tribute to the dedication that we have of our staff. So with that, again, if I go too fast, if I don't give enough detail, please stop me, ask me a question, raise your hand on the virtual meeting side. I'll gladly give more explanation. I don't want to get too caught into the weeds. I think a nice overview shows you the momentum we have in the region for construction projects, for development projects, and ways to help some of our underserved areas when it comes to broadband and other issues that may be out there. Just in the last year, new projects that have been started, total over $70 million in investment. What's on the screen now is the 2023 initiatives. I'm looking back right now at 22. So I'll get to that screen here in a second, but in 2022, the Trumbull 46 82 interchange is underway. You'll really see that ramp up in the spring. The Smart 2 project, the people that came into the office today, seeing some of the cones and barrels, but it really is a great project. We just have an inconvenience, hopefully one more year, and we'll be up and running with that investment. The Struthers Dam, and I know a couple people that are online with us. They mentioned the Mahoning River. Lowville and Struthers dams are out. We look to take 5 dams out this coming year, but this year right now, 3 in Youngstown and 2, 1 in Warren Township and 1 in the city of Warren. We lost, like I believe many projects, we lost some time during the pandemic, like the world did. Lost time during the pandemic. We're trying to be aggressive. We hope to have by the end of 24, that'd be 7 of the 9 dams on the river. We have Leavittsburg to get to and then Girard 1. So great momentum, and we're picking up that pace on those dams. A couple of projects I want to highlight in development. The commitment by the Department of Transportation to replace the pavement on 680 can't be understated. It's a $70 million investment that'll start in 2025, but they're literally ripping up the concrete and replace it. There's a lifespan on concrete. It's reached its limit, and you're going to get brand new pavement, probably a 2 to 3 year initiative. The actual Department of Transportation worked with the city of Youngstown and Eastgate. And this is something that this committee could weigh in on. It's talking about eliminating 1 or 2 of the ramps out there and anything else that we can improve the traffic and the safety of that interstate that cuts through our good city here. So more to come. That's really just got started in development. Got an engineering firm through the state of Ohio on board, but we would like certainly need some input when it talks and looks at some of the ramps out there. As many of you have driven it, you know you've got ramp after ramp after ramp, but that is a safety concern. I just came in from Austin. There's 2 wrecks on 680, so it's a tough stretch there, especially when you get darkness and wet pavement. Like I mentioned, the Youngstown dams. We were fortunate that we were just captured and announced last week that we got a $2.6 million investment in EDA from Mahoning County Engineer's Office to redo what they call the Mahoning Avenue Industrial Park, and to be more of the Bailey Road. I think it's Rosemont, Commissioner Drive, very important project to the county with the development going on in North Jackson. This would certainly make it much easier to get in and out. Bailey Road at 76 is really growing. It's the investment that you're seeing. It's still to come in the Lordstown, North Jackson area. They tell me on 76 in the morning, it backs up on the interstate, people trying to get off at Bailey Road. There's that many people coming. The state's also committed to putting signals up at the end of those ramps there, which are making it a lot safer too. We're also trying to work with them to get that high tower lighting that literally lights it up like it's daylight. And that would be a big improvement too, but there's investment out there. This additional investment from the Economic Development Administration will certainly help the county and certainly help the region continue to grow. I'm just trying to look down at some of the other investments, and I do want to get to where we're moving in the new year. I'm going to table the other thoughts on 2022 because most of it swings into 23. It really focuses on the initiatives and the opportunities that we see in front of us here, that as an agency, we're going to be very involved with pushing, assisting, and Justin recognized some of our regional partners, the Chamber, the Port Authority, but we work closely with all the entities, YSU, the foundations. I will say this started my 8th year, 2024, started my 2023, started my 8th year here at Eastgate. I love to come and work here. I spent 30 years in Department of Transportation, a great career. All I wanted to do is build bridges and interstates and didn't even think of communities along those areas. I got a chance to got a chance for new life here, reaching the communities. I love working with communities, trying to make progress, trying to make projects, and trying to make the region better. I share some of the thoughts I've heard online tonight with many of the people, and we had brief discussions before we went live here. I've been a lifelong resident of Youngstown, grew up in Youngstown, went to Urson, Youngstown State, now live in Austin. I'm vested here, and I'm here to work with the communities and people, great people like this that want to be part of the success. And I'm telling you, it's coming. We have a lot going on. What was very important is a lot of the regional entities I mentioned, we all share the same vision. We all see where we're trying to get to. So when you talk about capturing the funding that I'm going to talk about here, you got to have consistent regional vision. You got to have everybody on your side. You have to understand where you're trying to take this to. A lot of this federal and state money that is available, we have in place here where we say we study it very quickly, we plan, we get the funding, and we implement. If you get state or federal money, you have to spend it. And they want you to spend it. They want to see you build what you told them you're going to build, and they want to see you be successful. That's been our blueprint here as an agency. I think that's why we've been taking off more every year when we talk about investment made in the region. The numbers are higher and higher. I keep track myself of every dollar in, every dollar out when it comes to projects. I share it with anybody who wants to see it. Certainly share with our executive committee and our general policy board. And I've been doing that since I got here. And every year, the investment in the region has grown. And it's because of the regional partners working together. It's because of the staff and the communities working hard to do better and to attract more businesses that come with the more funds. So I believe we're in a great place. Want to talk about some of the initiatives that we have going on. They're just, some of them are just really started. Some may be started last year, but really picking up some speed now. And there's no specific order to this. I've said a lot of times, I don't put numbers on projects because they're all our priorities. So I'm going to start with a regional housing strategy and implementation plan. And that we're doing in-house under the leadership of Justin. We just were very fortunate to bring on Tricia Diavion, who's working closely with Justin on a housing strategy, just getting that underway. But what we're hearing, and this is just an answer to what we're hearing, Foxconn's talking about 5,000 jobs in 2 years. They're talking about their supply chain coming here. They're talking about numbers as high as 20,000 in the next 8 to 10 years of additional jobs. We need to get that in line with a housing strategy that focuses on the ability for each community to develop housing strategies individually to communities, so that when you talk about zoning, when you talk about permitting, when you talk about utility connections, what have you, it's a toolkit that we'd like to provide each county, each community, so that if they want to be part of that housing strategy, move forward with new housing, multifamilies, apartments, whatever have you, we have a quick way to expedite that process. The first out the door would be an assessment of where we are as a 2-county region when it comes to housing. See where the best fits are, where the business is being attracted to, how we can make a difference in the cities, how we can make a difference in the suburbs, and how we connect all those pieces together. I'll tell you, I'm no expert in it, but I understand there's a need, so we're going to dive in. And I'm going to learn with the group, but we're fortunate with Justin's leadership and Tricia's expertise. We look to bring on a consultant that knows this very well. We look to have them on board before March 1st. And to assist us with the housing assessment and housing strategy. So that goes hand in hand when we talk about initiative number 2, the second one up there, a regional repopulation strategy. Now, you may have read about that a little bit. That was in the Business Journal, really a new buzzword. I don't think I've ever said repopulation until the last 3 months. But we understand if you're going to turn around and try to fill those jobs, in 5,000 jobs or in the next decade, 20 to 25,000 jobs, you better start making sure you have the workforce here. So we look at a repopulation strategy. It's really a workforce development initiative because we want to bring the workers here. We have a strategy, it's called our 3R strategy. You want to retain the individuals that are here. You want to return the talented individuals that left the area to come back here. And then you want to receive immigrants, refugees from other countries to come here to build that workforce. There's a strategy we believe we're going to be successful attracting money from the state of Ohio through ARC to bring a consultant on board that has expertise when it comes to immigration, when it comes to bringing refugees here and establishing those communities. So again, we're just sticking our toe in that water. It's a brand new initiative, but we got to start talking about it, and we want to be aggressive. So when we get somebody on board, a repopulation strategy will fit hand in hand with a housing strategy. We think we need a marketing campaign so that we tell everybody about the good things going on here, the cost of living, the low cost of living, the jobs, potential jobs coming here are actual jobs, good paying jobs, and the Four Seasons and the beautiful amenities that we have. So that fits in. And then the fourth spoke of that hub would be a cultural liaison to assist the people that we bring in this area and help them fit into our communities and grow our communities. So something we don't know a lot about, but we know we need it. And we're gonna address that. I like to say, if I don't know, I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'm not afraid to put an expert in the room because the experts in the room make me even look smarter. So I'll put them next to me. We're gonna bring in high-end consultants and they're gonna tell us how we can get there. And we're gonna roll that out to our communities here in the near future. So that kind of covers the first two of the initiatives. A couple of these others, they're just out there, but we're looking into. We're working with Asheville, Mahoning County, Trumbull County, and Columbiana County for a lake to river logistics corridor. Asheville has been the lead on that. They want to capitalize on all the interchanges along State Route 11 that are vacant when it comes to development. They would the connection to the lake and the river with their Deepwater Port, and then the Ohio River, and the opportunity to attract more companies. So they kind of piggybacked on top of our lake to river broadband corridor that's in the development right now, where we're going to bring high-speed internet tapping into the line that runs east and west along Interstate 90, and bringing that down so that we can supply internet access to our rural communities going east and west off that high-speed line. But let's not run from the fact that you have high-speed internet sitting in every interchange along Route 11. So that should be an attraction to companies to come here and continue to be what we need to be with economic development. Out the door, we want to supply internet to everybody, and we want to address the rural communities that don't have access. But again, I want to say again, I can't hide the fact that this should also be a double header win here when you can attract additional investment because of the accessibility to high-speed internet. Reconnected communities, another initiative, that's the Madison Avenue Expressway just to the north of the downtown, splits YSU and the downtown with, I'll say, the north side and Mercy Health. Through the new funding that was made available through the Biden administration, there is the IIJA, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, excuse me. There is a category for reconnecting communities that have been split by highways. They're in a better example than one right there when we split the north side from downtown with the freeway. Now, that's a long shot. It's a federal program. We're going to compete against other states in the country here. But we put a ask in, an application in, ask for planning dollars to show what we can do. And we have support from the community. We have support from the hospital, YSU. ODOT certainly doesn't want to keep maintaining these bridges. And there really is no traffic on that. That would turn into just a road and an arterial road one way in each direction. Remove the bridges, remove the highway, and kind of grade that back out. Now, I'm going to tell you, very preliminary, we don't have any money, but it's out there. And in order to get these projects, you have to start asking. If you ask me if they handed me the money tomorrow, it'd be 5 to 7 years out before you build it. But if you don't start now, that 5 to 7 years keeps going down the road. So I think the opportunity's here. Justin, through his work, submitted that area. It got recognized as a freeway to nowhere. It really is. For the traffic, it shouldn't be an interstate. It shouldn't be a freeway. And there's other ways around utilizing 62 to get to that part of the city. So that's out there. We're pushing for that. The next I want to touch on is numerous residential broadband pilot projects. So when we did our regional broadband feasibility study, it identified 12 things we should work on. The 12th was the home run, the lake to river broadband, high-speed internet. But there was a lot of other projects that we could do to help our residents. Really, when you look at Mahoning County, you talk a lack of connectivity, it's in pockets. You don't need to drag major lines to those pockets, but you need to identify those pockets and work with the internet suppliers, find funding and find ways to get internet access to those communities. We've been working with all three of our counties, Mahoning, Trumbull, and Ashtabula. All commissioners are agreeing to put funding into it. We've had great success. We will have additional success finding and filling those pockets for internet access. Again, I've said numerous because there's many townships out there, and we're working with every one of those to try to provide that access. Electric vehicle charging station plan. I put that out there. We have a group that's committed to that. to commit it to be what it works with ODOT. So we're meeting the expectations of the state when we talk about access to EV charging stations along 80 in some of the rest areas and other places. And then we will follow the lead of ODOT, who's the experts when it comes to placing additional charging stations. But I think it's important to recognize that this group's involved with that and trying to be part of that planning process. Lordstown staging area, this is one I'm disappointed myself. I've been talking about this for a couple of years. You could triple trailers off the turnpike. They have to stop. They have to actually unhook up in Newton Falls because they can't get off the interstate here and drive to FedEx off of Bailey Road because they're not permitted on the roads. We want to create a staging area for the triples to get off in Lordstown versus getting off and unhooking in Newton Falls and driving 22 miles to get to FedEx. There's land out there at the old GM plant. We just have to turn it into what we'll call the staging area, which is just a big parking lot so they can unhook there. FedEx has been asking for a while. It's 22 miles one way to Newton Falls. It's 3 miles from FedEx to Lordstown area. You can imagine sending 2 drivers up and back to bring the triples here. We'll take care of that this year. I just wanted to also note that we're working with the Chamber and the Port Authority to develop a lead economic development organization. And many, myself included, 2 years ago, thought that was the Chamber. It's not. In successful communities, they have an organization that works with the Chamber closely, works with Eastgate, works with the Port Authority, that focuses on business attraction only. So when you talk about what the Chamber does, they talk about retention with businesses and expansion of businesses. It's difficult for the Chamber that members are existing businesses to go ahead and attract a business that's going to either steal their employees or steal their business. So you have to, there's a separation in very successful communities that identifies a lead economic development organization, or LEADO, to attract businesses that has a separation from what really funds the Chamber to do. So the Chamber focuses on business retention and expansion. LEADO, which we think we'll have up and running by mid-year this year, will focus clearly on business attraction. I would tell you, I believe that that'll grow like the Office of Repopulation, and there is a recipe for more success when we can get that organization up and running. Site preparation and readiness prioritization team, that will fall under LEADO. We work, and I think one of the initiatives that we've taken on is really being more involved in economic development. But one of the stumbling blocks is when you have companies coming to the area, we don't have our sites ready. And we need to have a team that addresses deficiencies in large parcels of land or large acreage that makes it available. So when somebody's coming to look at a TJX, we already have it figured out. We already kind of have the utilities figured out. We took care of the wetlands. We know where the zoning could be, and we can talk about the permitting process. I'm not speaking out of turn when I say the Chamber would back this up. We've lost opportunity because we don't have sites ready. So we're going to focus on site readiness under the new LEADO that's going to be established by mid-year. The next is a regional utility coalition. That's a study that we undertook. Eastgate led. We used a consultant out at Cincinnati, pardon me. They studied how we operate when it comes to, I got to say, we call it utilities. Number one was water. We have communities that fight over water. We're not user friendly to businesses that come in when we go to hook up for water. We need to regionalize that we all share in the prosperity and let each water supplier kind of take their turn and make it more attractive to communities. Lordstown's a great example. Warren wanted to supply the water. Lordstown wanted to pass the water from MVSD. Fought, took 9 months, cost $13 million to build a new water tower. That Altium had to write the check for. So that was a disaster. Altium still built their plant, but I can tell you we were never getting a second one because of the problems they had with water, and they flat out told us that. So this is a study that looked at that. This is a study that we actually have the report, but we actually extend the contract of the consultant that come here, build a coalition of the water suppliers and the communities, let them present their findings, let them show how we can share the resources and the prosperity. I would tell you that's a strong team to come. We have somebody coming from Boston, somebody coming from Denver, and 2 of the people coming are on the national organization for utility and water resources. So a strong team. They've been through this in other communities, and I believe this time next year, we're going to be in a better place when it comes to supplying water, wastewater, and drainage. So we're excited that Eastgate was able to lead that charge. I also just marked a couple of things I wanted to just briefly mention. We have, after every election cycle, we talk about Legislative Day. Lost that during the pandemic. We hope to bring on our new legislators and get invited to our office. We meet with them during a lot of the events in the community, but we want to bring them to Eastgate, show them what we do, get more involved, show them what we're looking at, probably review the list that I'm talking about right now, and seeing how they can help and build that relationship with our legislators. I also noted our Eastgate this year, 2023, started what we're going to call our year-long celebration for our 50th anniversary. It's exciting. When I talk about that, I said I can only tell you the last 7 years, but former director Getchy, he's going to be involved in some of the things we're going to do throughout the year. Today, after our attack, we got a little open house commemorating the kickoff to our 50th anniversary celebration. I think an organization that stood tall for 50 years needs to be recognized and needs to be talked about. We were planning to get back to our annual meeting in May 17th. We're going to do a feature on kind of rolling back a video that's going to kind of go through the years quickly. Don't want to lose everybody quickly and show where we started, show the transparency, show the strength that we showed as an agency to withstand some of the things that obstacles have gotten in the way, and really how we've grown the agency through the assistance of our communities and really built it to be stronger than ever in year 50. And you're going to hear more about that. We want to do something else at the end of the year. Certainly, to our annual meeting, you're going to hear more about it. It's a couple months away. We're in the planning process, but we welcome and want representation, and we'd love to have the whole Citizens Advisory Board be able to attend that event. I talked about the annual meeting. The other thing is advocacy. We work closely. We're a governmental agency. It's difficult to advocate. We recognize the importance of advocating for projects. We recognize the importance to advocate for funding. We work with our partners, kind of lean on them to do a little more of the advocacy because, again, we're government. We do what we do. We do it well, but we want to turn around and we kind of leave that and understand it and appreciate it, but we leave that to the people that could do more advocating for us, certainly at the State House in Columbus and with our federal partners in DC. We've taken a more of a proactive approach to participating in other events too throughout the year. We go to AMPO, which is the American Metropolitan Planning Organization Association. I'm sorry. We were there. We had people present this past year. Justin and Eric, our communication person. NARC, which is National Associate Regional Councils. Justin's going to represent us at that next week, 2 weeks out. And when we go to these, we're actually presenting to a national audience, and it's great recognition. We get asked to present on some of our initiatives. So it really showcases an agency. When you go there, what I find in a lot of these types of events, these types of conferences, we're small. Many of them are 40, 50 people. There's some that come in there, and the agency's 220 people, the one in Austin, Texas. But we're sitting there and they're taking notes when we're talking because we're doing some things that they haven't seen before. So it's an opportunity for us to showcase what we do. It's an opportunity to learn from others what they're doing. So I thought I wanted to list on their opportunity is really an opportunity for staff to attend conferences to make us a stronger organization. We had a staff meeting Tuesday. Our motto is we're in continuous state of improvement. We want to get better. Lastly, I'll touch on it quickly. These are some exceptional projects that are out there. I'll tell you that these are just, again, I go back to that example. These are projects that'll take years to get into development if they ever happen, but you have to have what I'll say is more of a wish list. This is where we kind of lean on. We're gonna start back to our Grow Mahoning Valley meetings, semi-annual meetings where we look for ideas. We look to the CAB, the TAC, the general policy. Tell us what you're seeing when you talk about a major project that can make an impact to our communities, whether it's through a safety need, an economic development need, but we need to see those projects. We think we know what we're talking about, but we could always be missing something. First one on there is a new interchange at 80 and 304. That's been talked about, been brought up by Trumbull County engineer, the Liberty Township City of Hubbard talked about it, Hubbard Township, the ability to connect to that area to the interstate. And what I see is that connecting that area to the east side of Youngstown. I don't know if everybody can remember back, like I can, the old Hubbard Arterial. That, I was at ODOT when that was being pushed, and I went to many, many public meetings, and there's a lot of money spent and got no project. I still, to this day, felt they went too far east and looped around the east side. I thought a connection off of the existing 62 to the interstate, and then some type of access roads or new roads off of 62 into the east side would open it up at a much, much lower cost. That, I think what happened on that project is it's outpriced itself. Bad estimates or high estimates kill projects because you can't fund them. So we have some drawings. We're looking for some funding to study to see if it's a worthwhile investment. But when you hear about the land available and the opportunities available, that's a portion of our city that's been disconnected. Last St. Patrick's Day, we had the Assistant Secretary for EDA out of Washington, took her on a bus tour. She could not believe that 62 dead-ended into Elbert Street. She could not believe, she goes, how do the people over here get up? Well, it goes on and on and on to the PA line, but the interstate stops here. And she couldn't believe it. So I think we got something there, and we look to kind of address that situation on 62. It kind of ties into a study that the City of Youngstown is doing called the Crab Creek Corridor. And then when you look at that, you can possibly get a new interchange. So what I'd like to do is have one of our staff possibly present that to the CAB in the coming months. Again, it's conceptual. No decisions, no money. It's something we're looking at. I just would like to hear some more comments of people that understand the city better than I do. We throw in a couple more. As a former ODOTer, I understand you better have something on their list. At some point, they got to spend additional funds over here. I do believe we've been treated very well when it comes to funding it. I started a conversation earlier this evening with a $680 and $70 million being invested there. But we're looking at opportunities to redo the modified interchange at 62 and 80 in Hubbard, and then opportunities possibly for the state of Ohio, not to continue that widening of 80 from State Route 11 to 62 and possibly through to the PA line. You have to stop them in interchanges, so it'd have to stop at 62 and then transition the widening out to the PA line. The last one is probably either more of a reach is a Trumbull State Route 11, Niles Vienna Road interchange. That was brought up by the Trumbull County engineer. We'll list anything somebody brings to us. We'll investigate it and try to find funds if that project becomes something that the communities want. One that didn't get on this list was a reconnection of the interchange or redoing of the interchange at 6-8 and Shirley Road. We talked about that. ODOT did a study. It was a $20 million project, but when we talked about doing that, you really focused on economic development. State of Ohio won't fund projects for economic development through ODOT. And then we found, when we did some of the looking, that there's not a lot of land to develop there. So I think that we got that one off our list, but it's on a radar somewhere out there that there could be possible project for something like that that'd be the far future. Right on, that'll outlive me, a project like that in this, in this role here at Eastgate. So that's a quick overview of where I see us going as an agency, working with our communities, our regional partners to continue to grow the region, move the region forward. I welcome any questions. If I went too fast, if anybody needs additional information, I'll tell you everything I know about every project. We practice and talk about it every day, transparency, and I like to even get more technical and say we're just going to do what's right. So with that, I'll take any questions if anybody has anything.
Mr. Kennedy.
Jim.
Go ahead.
Oh, not. Yeah, Jim, I was going to say that I commend you for delivering what I believe is the most comprehensive vision for the revitalization of the Mahoning Valley that I have ever heard. I think this needs to be communicated fully to the media, and I'm wondering if Eastgate should hire a professional communicator with a journalism background to write news releases on this and the aspects of this and get some local media coverage and maybe beyond local media coverage. Now, I'm not looking for this proposed job. I'm not looking for a job. I'm just suggesting. I'm happily retired right now, but what I'm saying is, I think if you can get a professional journalist, professional communicator to help you to communicate this vision and aspects of it, I think you can really make the public a lot more aware and maybe get the public on board with your far-reaching proposals.
Pete, I greatly appreciate your comments. When I talked and I mentioned that we're trying to start an officer repopulation, we talked about a marketing campaign. And again, your expertise helps here to move even quicker. We feel like we got a good thing going on here. Nobody knows about it. And when we talk about nobody knows about it, I'm not talking about people living in Columbus or Pennsylvania. I'm talking about the people who live in my neighborhood. They don't even know what we're doing down here. So we're not telling the story. I think investigating in some type of media blitz or media campaign can only help us, but we're our own worst enemies when we don't communicate all the good things going on.
Right. My question was, why does the ODOT not like economic development?
Well, they'll tell you that there's an office at the state of Ohio that does economic development. They're responsible for building roads and bridges.
Right. And they only build them to alleviate congestion.
Congestion, safety issues. To get 80 wide, you need wrecks. It's unfortunate, but I sat in that chair. You need accidents, and they come out and say they do things and they check to see is the grade right, is the curvature right, or is it just too congested? If it's one of those, then they'll fix it. You're going to find in most of your accidents, it's driver error. 99%. We review accidents, really review fatalities. I only look at the fatalities in the area, but they're all driver error when it comes to that. We're fortunate we don't have that congestion, but I think that we have an opportunity, especially on the interchange of 62 and 80, that's like spaghetti out there. And if it rains hard in the summer or the springs, some of those ramps get flooded. So I think there's an opportunity now. We're going to force them to fix that because the rain gets flooded out there and it needs to be fixed. A new interchange, we got to look for funding. What you got to be careful on is if you get a developer that pushes it and the state of Ohio builds it, he prospers and the taxpayers pay for an interchange. There's ways to get them built. I think we just need to get $500,000 of seed money. We're going to put it in the transportation budget through one of our legislators to see if we get some seed money to study. Once you start studying it, then you start getting ODOT's ear and you might be able to find ways to get it funded. So I hope that clarifies. They chase safety.
The thing is, like 20 or 18 years ago, I went to ODOT did a survey. And they were having meetings to show the results of this public survey of the whole state.
Sure.
And two young ladies from ODOT came, and I was up in Liberty, I think, because Pat and Garrow had something to do with ODOT. And he was
I think he's on track.
He was the big business agent or something for Liberty Township. But it was up there. I went up there, and they went through this thing, and the number one reason for a road to be built is economic development, according to the surveyees, the people who took the survey. But number one reason to build a road actually was, and it was like well apart in the presentation, I should go back to this page where you were saying about so the popular thing was economic development.
Yeah.
But the actual thing, what they actually did was only congestion.
Yeah, it's tough dollars to spend on economic development when you got congestion in other areas of the state or safety problems in other areas of the state. We're fortunate. I think we got a great interstate system that's well maintained in our region and addressed. So
I think from the east side out to 80 East.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it, right? Come on, we got it.
We're working on it for 72 years now.
Yeah, I know, but I think we're on to something with the new interchange because in order to get that interchange, I think you're gonna say you don't have access to, you've got a part of the city that's cut off. And I think so, but, again, I lived a little bit of that life. I think if you want to get them to build new interchange at 80, if that's what we should be doing at 80 and 304, you're gonna hang your hat on that there's no access for the east side of Youngstown to get to 80. And you deny them access. So I think they're gonna listen to that one. So, yeah, great comment. I appreciate you.
Here's I'm the president of Arco Club. Right? The Arco Club used to be on Albert Street, right where that freeway ends. The freeway ended there. We had to sell that property to the state. State of Ohio still owns that property. Moved the building over onto Garland, and the Arco Club moved up onto Shirley Road.
Yeah, they bought all kind of property for that Hubbard Arterial. I think the state of Ohio donated the land for East High School. Since where they.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, those are great stories.
So we got a hand up, Jacob, feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned about opening up the river, getting rid of the rest of the dams. My main question is the accompanying hike and bike trail along the river. I'm hoping that Eastgate moves on that as well. And I'm curious with that new Appalachian grant that's coming out, it sounds like that could take care of the entire Mahoning River corridor plan that Eastgate has. Also on top of it, the icing on the cake would be Tim Ryan originally proposed the Steel Valley National Heritage Area. Sadly, he's not our congressman anymore, but they just, I guess Biden just signed into law an expansion of heritage areas. So I'm hoping that maybe we get the hike and bike trail done, get the Blue Way done, and also make this a heritage area to do historic interpretation along the trail. So I'm just curious where the Mahoning River Greenway stands and if that's in the plans, in the works.
Yeah, I'll address that. I'm not familiar with the Heritage Park that you brought up, but the ARC grant that we're putting in for the state of Ohio, we call it a River Opportunity. The money's directed for downtown revitalizations. We think that we could get some linkage out of it. We also think there's other opportunities to continue to track funding outside of before they made the announcement where money got committed from the state of Ohio to ARC projects to focus on revitalization of downtown areas. We think we have some mechanisms out there to find some funding and start building a river walkway or maybe some connectivity. We talk about revitalizing these downtown areas. We don't want single projects for downtown areas, we need regional projects. And what better way to make it a regional project is to invest in downtown areas and then connect them with some type of walkway. So it's near and dear to our heart. We're trying hard to find that funding.
Mr. Kinnick?
Yes.
Bill Pegg, Vienna Township. Are you aware both Howland Township and Vienna Township has written letters to ODOT opposing an interchange at Niles, Vienna and State Route 11?
Yes, I am aware of that.
And
I
we
can
will
tell you,
continue-
I think I even referenced what I said. That one was just brought up there. To
We
be
will
honest,
con-
there's no legs to that one at all.
we will continue to fight that.
I'm not, let me state that Eastgate's not supporting that at this point either. But what I tried to say is if a community brought something up, we put it on as a conceptual plan. Because we do have communities that asked about that. We're not supporting that one at this point. We don't feel there's no legs at all to an interchange there.
Thank you.
Welcome. That's why I had a road in.
I think, quick comment, Jim, is bring your initiatives back up. How intertwined some of those initiatives are, they're dependent upon, so you almost have to have a shotgun start on them, and it's just, how intertwined, maybe about a half a dozen or 7 or 8 of them on each other. This is a great time for that, because we have, currently we have 2 good partners, jobs that could probably help with a couple of those, so we have to take advantage of all that, so, but.
No, it's a great comment. There's a lot going on. Like I said, what's most important, I think, is just people working together. And as you know, example, we're closely reporting the chamber on all our initiatives. I'll try. I'm excited about the EDA money that the port got to tank study the airport too.
And some of that came from talking to the FAA, just a little background on that. The FAA a couple of years ago, our South Side project is, with airports, you have landside access that we can get jobs out with. There's also land, airside access, and the most expensive part of the construction of an airport. They go, so we're talking, and they're ready to fund development at the airport for aviation and non-aviation as far as airside access, but it's just like, without a plan, we're not gonna discuss it.
Right, no,
And they have dollars. They have capital dollars for that, but without a plan, we should have shot at it.
Agree.
So the return on that investment of that $300,000 is gonna be.
I agree with that. You gotta have a plan quickly, carry the plan, put the other hand out for money.
Yep.
Okay, if there's no more questions, thank Jim for a good presentation, exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. Thanks. And appreciate everybody's questions, patience to listen. I get long-winded, but it's exciting times and looking forward to implementing these and coming back and share some of the planning obstacles and then victories. Thank you.
Okay, Justin has a report on the general policy board.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll go through the general policy board, jump right into the TAC overview, just to kind of keep the meeting moving. So our last general policy board was Monday, December 5th. A fairly straightforward meeting. We gave our committee reports, the Technical Advisory Committee, Citizens Advisory Board, and Finance Executive Committee, all presented to our general policy board. Then the business portion of the meeting included a presentation from Jim, just some updates on various initiatives. Likely many of them he talked about and covered during his presentation here today. And then we had Chad Root, who is the Capital Programs Administrator at ODOT District 4, who really kind of gave a comprehensive update about what's going on at their district office. Projects and initiatives that they're looking for, updates on specific projects in the region, and an overview of kind of funding priorities moving forward, as well as some conversation on safety and things like that. So really, that was the bulk of the general policy board meeting. And just to call attention and keep it in front of everybody's minds, those happen quarterly. So our next policy board meeting is March 6th. Which is a Monday at 10 a.m. here at Eastgate's office. We will have Samantha and Genevieve prepped to provide the CAB report based on discussions and what we talk about at these meetings, both this month and next month. As well as if there's anything that you as the CAB want to include in those notes, start thinking of it. Because if there's something you want to communicate to our general policy board, that's the place and time to do it. So we can make sure to incorporate that into the committee report so that that message makes its way up the chain. I will roll into the Technical Advisory Committee meeting summary. This occurred earlier today. Like I said before, the Technical Advisory Committee is the companion committee to the Citizens Advisory Board. So at that meeting, they nominated and elected their TAC officers. Who stayed the same as last year. So the chair of that committee is Gary Schaefer, who is with the Trumbull County Engineers Office, and the vice chair is Bob Durbin, who's with the Mahoning County Engineers Office. We had a presentation on the Appalachian Community Grant Program, as well as updates on the Appalachian Regional Commission Program. Kathy Zook is our program manager for that program, and she provided an overview of Eastgate's role, both as a local development district for the Appalachian Regional Commission, as well as detailed information on the Appalachian Community Grant Program. So Jacob had called attention to this in a previous comment. The Appalachian Community Grant Program, sometimes abbreviated as ACGP when we write in shorthand, is $500 million made available by the state of Ohio for the 32 Appalachian counties across the state. So that's really southern Ohio and reaches all the way up the eastern side up to Ashtabula County. Was a process that wrapped up December 9th, a deadline for project or project applications for technical assistance funding, as well as development grants, which are projects that are shovel ready and ready to go. In our region, we have 5 technical assistance projects submitted and 3 development projects. The Governor's Office of Appalachia, who is the state office that is overseeing this program, is reviewing those project submissions. It has to submit their selections and their recommendations to the Ohio Controlling Board for a final funding decision. That decision is expected in the first quarter of this year. So we're hoping in the next few weeks, may turn into the next couple months, but we're hoping for a quick turnaround on that. Also with the Appalachian Regional Commission, this is a federal program. There is summer learning opportunities for students. In the meeting summary notes, I will provide the links to this. This is really focused on high school students, middle school students, and high school teachers. So if you're connected to any of those folks or know anyone, these programs may be really interesting to those folks. There's 2 different programs. One is called the Appalachian Entrepreneurship Academy, and the other is called the Appalachian STEM Academy. They are all expense covered programs that run for about 2 weeks. There's some variations based on whether it's middle school or high school focused, but all of the information will be in the meeting summary notes, and you can please share that information with anyone you think may be interested, because we'd love to see students from our area be involved in this and get selected. It is a competitive process. We have had local students represented through those in the past. And lastly, for ARC, there is a new state's co-chair who is Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. So that's kind of an interesting shift in direction. Before it was Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who worked with the federal co-chair for the Appalachian Regional Commission, who is Gail Manchin. So we'll look to see some new priorities maybe come out of ARC with this change in direction. But that is exciting news to know who that is and start to develop that relationship. After the ARC updates, we heard from Mark Ragazine, who's our Economic Development Program Manager, on some updates with his program. He essentially gave an overview of last year. I will put more detail than I will share here in the meeting summary, but essentially we were incredibly successful with the Economic Development Program last year. We went 5 for 5 with projects submitted to the EDA to projects funded through the EDA. Kevin and Jim had a brief discussion at the end there about one of those successful projects. Really incredible work from the locals, all of our partners that came together to make these projects a success. We're thrilled with how that turned out. And that success is carried over into this year. 6 days into the year, we were notified by EDA that Mahoning County was successful in their EDA application. Remarkable. There's about $6 million made and allocated to the state of Ohio through EDA. Mahoning County's project was $2.4 million. So that one project was good enough to kind of capture a third of the funding for the entire state of Ohio. So just a testament to the hard work and the good things that can come from being good partners. After EDA, Jeff Goldner, who is our GIS program manager, gave an update on kind of what he's working on in 2023. You may be familiar with a previous project that was presented. We call it the Big Map, which isn't very descriptive, but it's kind of an all-encompassing one-stop shop for GIS data. So any type of mapping data, we try to kind of funnel into this one big map. He wants to expand that. He wants to create an open data hub on our website, so other GIS folks in the area have an easy place to go for any of the data that we use for our planning purposes. Anything we use in-house, we want to make sure that that's accessible, openly and freely available to anybody else that needs it, to where they could go to our website, find what they need, pull it down themselves and start using it. So they don't need to contact us, wait for us to package things up, send it their way. We're going to streamline that process. So that's really exciting. He also provided just a little bit of information, an update on the 2021 American Community Survey 5-year data is now available, just as kind of a heads up to folks that use demographic information from the census. That's the latest and greatest. So just to let everyone know that that's happening. In addition to that, we covered the safety performance measures. So state departments of transportation are required to set performance measures for transportation safety. There's a federal rule that references it and kind of provides that guidance. Eastgate, as a partner of the State Department of Transportation, finds themselves in a situation where we also have some sort of requirement to set performance measures through kind of regulations that govern our activities. So what we do is, because those performance measures aren't necessarily something that Eastgate controls, they are state performance measures. Eastgate adopts the same targets that the state does. So we don't want to deviate. We don't want to show any sign of difference in what our goals and our targets are from the state, because the progress that we make is the progress that they make. Essentially, our adoption of safety performance measures is exactly the same as the safety performance measures that ODOT sets. So there is a resolution number 002/2023 that has the details on that. It's something that will go to the board for a vote to make a recommendation to the General Policy Board. And the last topic that was covered at the Technical Advisory Committee was the 2024 to 2027 Transportation Improvement Program. So this is the first Transportation Improvement Program, or we call it a TIP for short, in 3 years. So 2020, everybody knows what happened there. There was a postponement of the development process. And then as we continued to work our way through the pandemic, the state of Ohio made the determination to continue that pause so that we could realign our timeline with other project funding plans. So Steven Zubik, who is our TIP manager, our Transportation Improvement Program manager, provided some information on what the TIP is, the function it serves, and how it plays a role in project delivery. He provided kind of a timeline for when this would all work, including calling attention to an April 6th public involvement meeting that will happen here at Eastgate. And that'll be an opportunity for people to review what all went into this process and provide comments back to us. As that date gets closer, I will make sure that that's front and center and everyone's well aware of when that's occurring. And we'll also have Stephen in to explain the TIP in more depth than I am capable of doing. So he knows that backwards and forwards. So he is much more eloquent than I am when talking about that. And then Stephen also has a resolution up this month. It is resolution 003, which includes an increase in TAP funding, which is Transportation Alternatives Program. And essentially, there's an increase in that funding due to cost changes for projects that have been challenging for setting budgets. So Eastgate received a small increase in funding, and we felt the best way to utilize that was to increase the allocation to our Transportation Alternatives Program. And if you remember from a previous presentation of Stevens, that program is focused on active transportation. So sidewalks and pedestrian lighting and things of that nature. So things that facilitate transportation other than in a vehicle. Also in that resolution is information on the carbon reduction program. They're applying that funding that we received, which comes from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, another program that Jim had mentioned during his presentation. It's a new program from that that we received funding for that we are going to apply to the State Route 82, State Route 46 Diverging Diamond Interchange project in Halland Township. That funding had a short window for use, so it needed projects that were shovel ready and met the specific criteria of the program. Fortunately, this project has already been in the hopper, and we were able to kind of exchange some funding that we had already allocated to it. So what this does is we brought in a new source of funding specifically for an intended purpose that this project was eligible for. And we're now able to take some of the funding that was previously allocated and open that up for new projects. So it makes our agency a little more flexible on what we can accomplish and what we can help local communities implement. And that's all I have for both the General Policy Board meeting and the Technical Advisory Committee. meetings are.
Okay, any questions or further discussion on the board? If not, we'll move on to the resolutions.
So yeah, in the tax summary, I called attention to these. I sent out an updated agenda just today that has the resolutions attached. It's resolution 002-2023 that is establishing the statewide targets for safety performance management measures, as well as resolution 003, which amends the fiscal year 2021 to 2024 transportation improvement program, which was related to the carbon reduction funding, as well as the transportation alternative program funding. How we will handle those is the same as we have over the last couple of years. Since we are split hybrid, some in person, some online, it's easier for us to send those resolutions out afterwards in an email to the current board members. And we'll just ask that you respond to those resolutions with an affirmative or a negative or an abstained vote. And we'll kind of wrap that process up following the meeting.
Any questions or comments? Announcements?
Yeah, so just two quick things. I'll start with the second one because Jim had mentioned it earlier. We are bringing back our annual meeting. I know some members of the CAB have attended in the past. It's a really fun and great event that we get to bring in some featured speakers, some people from not only the region, but also the state and sometimes national partners. So really a good opportunity for us to expand our reach and show off, the connections that we have, as well as kind of show off who we are as an agency, in addition to celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. So it's sure to be a great show. We're putting together kind of the agenda and the program for it. So there's more information, but just to save the date, Wednesday, May 17th, it will be the morning. Hours, I think, are still kind of up for debate, but like I said, more information on that. The second thing I want to mention is we are doing a community information and public input event. We did a similar one mid-December at the main library in Youngstown. This one, we're heading up into the city of Warren at the Warren Public Library on Mahoning Avenue. This will be Wednesday, January 18th from 4 to 6. So next week, it's an open house style. So if you show up, you'll get to interact with all of the staff that will be there, the different programs that they have. And one of the major purposes of this event is some public input for our metropolitan transportation planning process. So I will conduct 2 guided feedback sessions, I believe at 4:30 and 5:30. It takes about 10, maybe 15 minutes, depending on the discussion that occurs. But it should be a great time and an opportunity to really kind of impact the work that we do and make sure your voice is heard in some of these larger planning efforts.
Okay. Thanks. Any other announcements? I guess we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you,
February
everyone.
2nd is the next meeting.
Have a good night,
Groundhog
everyone.
Day.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just your slide on those initiatives.
Thanks.